Hey guys, welcome to the channel, and what I have for you today is my review of the LG QNED83, a 55-inch TV. And for those of you that aren't aware, the QNED83 is a TV that uses quantum dot as well as nano cell to give you a great picture quality experience. The TV that I have today, like I said, is a 55-inch TV, and we're going to find out whether this TV is worth it, especially for the asking price of about 94,000 rupees on e-commerce websites as of me making this video. The TV has a 55-inch panel. It boasts of local dimming and support for HDR formats like HDR10 and Dolby Vision, and also supports Dolby Atmos. So let's get started with the most important thing, which is the picture quality. Now, like I said, the TV does support HDR and Dolby Vision, and if I can put it in a nutshell, this is an IPS panel on an HDR TV with local dimming in the backlighting, right? So what that means is that if you're going to consume content in a well-lit room, then this TV is actually going to give you a pretty decent experience. And why is that? Well, because of the IPS panel, it can handle glares and reflections, and it does get decently bright so that you can actually enjoy HDR content in a room that is slightly well-lit. Remember, if you think of LG and TVs, you probably think of their flagship OLED TVs and their OLED panels, and those are fantastic TVs if you want to turn the lights down and have a theater-like experience at home. But not everyone has the ability to turn the lights down, especially if you're watching TV during the day, and that is where this TV actually performs well. You can see from some of the content that I'm showing you that even though it is content which is slightly dark, it is still quite well legible on this TV, and that is the beauty of it. Right, so let's break it down into the different types of content that you will consume, starting with HDR. Now, we consumed a lot of content in Dolby Vision and HDR10 across streaming services, be it Amazon Prime Video, Netflix, and even on Apple TV. Now, on Apple TV, I do have a copy of The Dark Knight, and that is in Dolby Vision. And you can see this is the scene where he's trying to kidnap Lau from Hong Kong, and you can actually make out the details in Batman's suit. And the footage that I captured was in the daytime in a relatively well-lit room, and I just put the curtains down a little bit, but you can see that there was ample natural light and the content was very easily consumable. The same thing for Ready Player One, right? It has this very unique color palette, and if you've seen the movie in theaters, you kind of know how difficult it is to replicate this on a TV, and this LG TV does it quite well, almost at flagship quality. Even a movie like Top Gun Maverick, you know, it's a great action film when you have these dog fights in the air or the planes flying all over, or even some of the real cinematic sequences in this film. It was an absolutely immersive experience. And remember, this is playing in Dolby Vision of Netflix, so if you're someone that has a local Blu-ray copy of the movie, your experience will be much better. But the fact that most of us are going to consume content from streaming services, it was actually pretty good. So if HDR content is very good, then what about SDR content? And like I've said in many videos in the past, right, SDR content even on budget TVs is at a point where it looks absolutely fantastic pan categories, and that is the same story out here. So if you will consume content in SDR, we were watching Young Sheldon, for example. The only con is that for some reason filmmaker mode came on its own, and I had to just go and switch it off. And as you can see, the difference is quite startling, because in filmmaker mode it kind of appeared slightly darker, but in the standard preset it was a fairly good content consumption experience. The colors were punchy and it was vibrant. Now, speaking of the presets, you do get cinema home, standard, vivid, game, sports, and many more when it comes to the picture presets. When you are consuming content in Dolby Vision or HDR, I highly recommend putting it on Cinema Home. There are two cinema options. One is Cinema Home and one is just Cinema. So you can put it on Cinema Home, and I would suggest go and put off any form of true motion or motion smoothing, because in my opinion, that's just way too artificial smoothing, and you get a fairly good content consumption experience. There is dynamic contrast, which I would recommend you keep it off, because that kind of gave me the best experience overall. But depending on how you like to enjoy content, you can keep it at low, medium, and high. I would highly recommend you guys go and play around with the picture settings. But if you are going to consume content like everyday stuff, TV shows, or watch news or just like set-top box content, then you can keep it in the standard preset, because I found that one to work the best. But if you're someone that's going to consume content such as movies and TV shows of streaming services, especially something that has a slightly more cinematic nature to it, then you are better off using the cinema home preset. But again, shows like Young Sheldon, Friends, The Office, stuff like that is better off consumed in the standard preset, because it gives you much punchier colors. Now coming to gaming, yes, this TV supports 4K, HDR10, Dolby Vision, 120 Hz panel and auto low latency mode, and eARC, all the features that are on offer with HDMI 2.1. However, it only has two HDMI 2.1 ports, the 3 and 4, of which one is an eARC port. So if you're someone that's going to use a sound bar, then you are going to use up one of those ports and have just one HDMI 2.1 port for, connecting your PlayStation 5 or Xbox Series X, or, your Apple TV 4K if you have that one, since that also supports HDMI 2.1. And whether you need 4 HDMI 2.1 ports or not is something that you can decide. I personally wish, just like its flagships, with the C series and the G series of LG's OLEDs, they provide all 4 HDMI 2.1 ports, and that's something that should have been here as well. But hey, you are still getting two ports, something that we've seen on a multitude of Sony TVs, even if you start from their X90L going all the way up to their flagship OLED. Sony still gives you only two HDMI 2.1 ports, so who are we to complain? We have seen the launch of a lot of soundbars that support HDMI 2.1 pass-through. So if you're in the market for a high-end soundbar, then you may want to consider something with HDMI 2.1 pass-through to compensate for the ports available on the TV. Having said that, we played games using both the PS5 and the Xbox Series X, and as we can show you on your screens right now, both the consoles get support for all the features, be it variable refresh rate, including 4K at 120 Hz and ALLM and YUV422 for the PS5 as well. And the Xbox Series X also supports Dolby Vision gaming, but I personally keep Dolby Vision gaming off. HDR gaming just gives an overall better experience. So let's kick it off with the PlayStation 5. Now, when you do connect your console for the first time, unlike the older generation TVs where you had to go and switch on HDMI 2.1 features manually, that did not happen out here. The console was detected and you just go into the standard HDR setup and you are good to go. Now, a game like Dirt 5, which is an HGIG game, what does that mean is that when you're calibrating your PlayStation 5 with the TV, which is, you got to press up and down to make the whole white screen completely bright and the black screen dark until you can see those the sun-shaped object in it. Well, that is basically your console telling the TV, and they're just communicating to say what is the maximum brightness that the TV can go up to and what's the minimum brightness the TV can go down to. Yeah, what's the maximum brightness the TV can go up to and what's the minimum brightness the TV can go down to. And Dirt 5 is a game that's actually very well represented based on your console settings. I have seen a lot of TVs in the past where the HDR calibration tells the console and the TV that the capability is very high, but it actually isn't. Out here, that isn't the case. Dirt 5 was represented absolutely fantastically. It's a great visually stunning game, especially if you want to see what HDR can do. Even other games like Ratchet & Clank is such a beautiful game when it comes to this whole animated movie-like feel that it has. It was a lot of fun. Even a game like Uncharted was brilliant on this TV. Even Spider-Man 2 is a game where you have these vibrant colors and environments, and it was absolutely immersive on this TV to enjoy any form of HDR gaming. And if you play some games in SDR as well, they will look fantastic as well. Just a recommendation is your PlayStation 5 in the settings has an option to keep HDR either off, always on, or when available. I would say keep it on when available, and if you feel that the picture is slightly too dark for you to enjoy, then you can always go and switch HDR off. Moving over to the Xbox Series X, again out here you do get full support for 4K 120 Hz ALLM, and we played games like Gears 5, Doom Eternal, and even a little bit of Forza. And I can tell you that a game like Doom Eternal was an absolute stunner on this TV. I mean, it's a game that runs at 120 Hz on this console, and it looks absolutely brilliant with the vibrant colors, especially when the enemies are flashing, when you can go in for a close takedown, and it was very, very responsive as well. So yes, the TV does support ALLM. Even Gears 5, which is kind of a benchmark for Xbox and to showcase how beautiful a game can look. Yes, I know Gears 5 is a really, really old game, but it's still a stunning looking game. If you guys want me to check out any specific games on the TVs that I get to test, you can let me know in the comment section below, and I will do my best to try and play those games when I am reviewing a TV. Having said that, even playing a multitude of games like Gears 5 or anything else on the Xbox Series X was an absolutely pleasant experience. Visually, you know, the contrast of the TV is actually fairly good, but there are times when dark objects kind of get a little lost, but that's just me being a little nitpicky. If you don't know what you're looking for, you absolutely will not notice it. You know, the lens flare from the guns also, especially in Doom, was absolutely fantastic. So yes, if you are looking for a gaming TV under 1 lakh rupees, you can definitely consider the LG QNED 83. So what are the cons of this TV? Because I've just been praising its picture quality all through and through. Well, there are just 2 cons that I can think of. One that I've already mentioned, which is just the lack of 2 HDMI 2.1 ports. I mean, 2 are normal HDMI, 2.0A ports, and just 2 HDMI 2.1 ports. That's one con. The second con is that even though the TV can get really loud and the sound output is really good, at high volumes it gets slightly tinny, and also the fact that it really lacks bass. Going back to some of the content that I consumed, for example, a movie like Top Gun Maverick, like you really have those swishes of the planes and the deep bass of their engines. You do get very good channel separation from left to right, but the bass and the grunt of those jets was just a little bit lacking. If you are going to watch everyday content, let's just stick with sound for a bit. If you're going to watch everyday content on this TV, it's going to sound okay. If you're going to watch TV shows, or even if you're going to watch some movies and play some games, the overall sound output is nice. It has this AI sound mode, and I usually left it on that. There were very few times when I actually changed sound settings, because this AI sound mode was actually one of the, it kind of moved things around based on the content I was watching. So in some other presets, if I was watching a movie, sometimes the dialogues were slightly inaudible, but in this AI sound mode, the dialogues were fairly clear as well. Moving over to the user interface, this is LG's WebOS, and it comes with this remote, which I actually like. It's a fairly good remote control. It's easy to use. It has this little wheel in the middle, which is slightly deep, but it is, turning the wheel takes a little bit of effort, and that's good. That means you don't actually kind of, just scroll far away more than you actually wanted to. You get the volume rocker and the channel controller, but the fact that this is a motion remote, you get the little pointer on screen, and you can use this like a magic remote. Something we've seen on a lot of LG TVs, just makes the UI very easy to use. If you have local movies stored on a pen drive or a hard drive, you can watch that on this TV as well, but the TV does not support VLC, so that is a bit of a bummer. Now, where does this TV stand when you look at the competition? Now, when it comes to a brand like LG, I would usually compare it with the likes of Sony and Samsung. And this TV actually offers you a slightly better value for money proposition, because it is priced at under 1 lakh rupees. So it's at about 94,000 rupees on e-commerce websites as of me making this video, which means if you're going to look at it during the sale period, or if you're going to go offline and kind of try to bargain a little bit, you can get it for a much cheaper price point. The Sony X90L, which is also a full array local dimming TV, it has some pretty good picture quality, and it also comes with 2 HDMI 2.1 ports in case you're a gamer. But as of me making this video, that TV is priced at 1,25,000 rupees. And of course, if you go offline, you may be able to get yourself a better deal. But considering the price difference, this LG TV is a better value for money proposition, especially if you know exactly what you're looking for. And the gaming aspects of this TV are actually great, because it has a dedicated gaming user interface as well, which you can actually tweak based on what you're playing. So if you are playing in a dark room, you can actually control some of the settings. You get to see the frame rates, and it's just basically a really cool UI if you are a gamer. Moving over to the build quality, all the ports are neatly laid out on the back of the TV. All the HDMI ports are outward facing, so even if you wall mount the TV, it's kind of easy to reach them. It does have 4 HDMI ports, 2 USB ports, an optical port as well, and a LAN port in case you want to physically connect it to the internet and not use the Wi-Fi. I didn't face any issues per se using Wi-Fi on this TV consuming content, and the overall experience was great, and the UI is smooth as well. Another interesting thing to note is that when you press the settings button, unlike the old LG TVs where you got a slim row of apps on the side which you had to toggle, you kind of get this small dashboard on the left of the screen, which is just so intuitively easy to use that I don't think I can go back to using the UI on my own LG TVs that I own, which I have reviewed on the channel. You can go and check it out, and for more such content you can always be subscribed to the channel. But yeah, that little snippet of a UI on the left that appears is actually very user friendly. It's very easy to switch between sound settings, between the visual settings, and also go into multi-view. The TV does support multi-view, but it's not a feature that I used much. So if I had to sum it up, if you are in the market to pick up a TV which is future-proof with HDMI 2.1 settings, has great picture quality, then yes, you can definitely consider this TV. It has local dimming, which means that even if you're going to consume content in the night with the lights down, you are going to get a fantastically good experience. Yes, there is going to be a slight amount of blooming around subtitles, but it's not that much that it's going to give you a bad experience, especially considering the price to performance ratio that this TV brings. So there you have it, guys. That was my review of the LG QNED83 55-inch TV. If you have any questions, you can let me know in the comment section below. And for more from the world of technology and home entertainment, you can be subscribed to the channel. This is me, Samir, signing off. I will catch you in another video. It's goodbye for now.